Before the president left for his Christmas break, he warned Congress to avoid, quote, self-inflicted wounds as negotiations continue to avoid a massive tax increase and possible economic calamity. But what's going to give? Manu Raju is with Politico. Daniel Newhauser is with Roll Call, also the drummer of the band Shark Week. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We appreciate it. We all cover Congress. We were there late into the night last week. We're back there almost the day after Christmas, and the Senate's back in session. Manu, what are some scenarios we see here? We have the possibility of President Obama's stopgap proposal, perhaps a Republican counteroffer. We go over the cliff. There are not a lot of options, though, where we sit at right now.
I think we can take one option off the table, and that's the grand bargain. That's just not going to happen, especially before the end of the year. The more likely scenario is the Democrats in the Senate push forward with this fallback plan, one in which they would extend the Bush-era tax cuts for those who make under $250, also include unemployment insurance extension, not to mention some other measures as well that are about to expire. Try to get that through the Senate, and hopefully they hope that Republicans will be forced to vote for it, or Mitch McConnell and the Republicans won't filibuster it, and then it'll go to the Senate and it'll put pressure on Boehner to approve it. That really seems to be the most viable solution to getting anything done. If not, if there's a stalemate, it looks like we're going over the cliff.
So you get all the Democrats and maybe 10 Republicans on that type of deal, and then it goes to the House floor. Yeah, do you think a bill with unemployment insurance extended can pass in the House? I mean, can this type of bill even pass in the House, or could we have one of those can we get to 218 nights?
You know, I think it probably can, but it would take Speaker Boehner realizing that he's going to have to put it up with perhaps more Democratic votes than Republicans. He's been aiming for a majority of his majority.
The Hastert rule.
Exactly, and that's been something that he's been willing to do on big bills like the debt ceiling. You get maybe 150 Republicans or so and put up the rest Democrats. But now he's lost a lot of leverage, and we might even see a scenario where it's fewer Republicans than that. And whether he's willing to do that, that remains to be seen. You know, but this will be certainly a big test. If not, I'm not sure there's anywhere else to go except for over the cliff.
And that's an interesting thing that I don't think folks out there really realize, is that Boehner has this sort of 120 members at least before they put anything on the floor, because they don't want to look like they're just handing something over to Democrats, which has been a big player in all of this. Yeah. The markets, we've seen some fluctuation, and it seems to be trending downwards because there's sort of a fear of going over the cliff, but they've been decently complacent. Do you guys think that that's what it would take to jolt lawmakers to actually come together and do something? Could you see us going over the cliff and then a few days afterwards saying, oh my gosh, the markets are tanking like TARP, we got to do something?
Well, yeah, exactly. I was going to say, just like TARP in 08, when the House rejected the first version of TARP, and that sent the markets panicking, and that led to a deal in the Senate, and that forced the House into action. Maybe there could be a scenario like that. Remember, there have also been threats right now to downgrade the country's credit rating even further if there is no deal, fiscal deal. Say we get to a point by January, mid-January, there's still no deal. There's going to be a lot of pressure to get something through, anything through, to at least stabilize the country's finances, prevent potentially another recession, which is what economists are warning if there is no deal.
Yeah.
And adding to that, all the tax measures that are slated to expire, I mean, everybody's taxes would go up, and you won't feel that necessarily immediately with most of these things, but with like unemployment insurance and others you will. And so there'll also be this sort of grassroots feeling among Americans. And if you look at all the polls, Republicans would get blamed. They themselves are wary of this, and that's why maybe Democrats would politically feel inclined to go over the cliff, because they know there'll be so much heat on Republicans. This might be the only way that they would agree to raise taxes.
Not to mention, you know, in the next Senate, too, there'll be, of course, 55 Democrats and more seats in the House.
Real quickly, both of you, we cover this day to day. I'm a little bit surprised about the lack of urgency. Are you guys, does that surprise you as well, or do you think this is Congress being Congress?
This is not the debt ceiling, Luke. I mean, this is not these guys, working through the weekends and horse trading, McConnell and Biden on the phone, the president really involved. I mean, to take Christmas off, facing the fiscal cliff in a week just shows, how little optimism there is that there will be a deal.
Yeah, I completely agree. We spent many a late night in the Capitol, and it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen.
Yeah, but it's amazing they've washed their hands of it. Manu Raju, Dan Newhauser, thank you so much for coming. Check out Shark Week, his band. He's the best drummer on Capitol Hill. Next, President George H.W. Bush forced to spend Christmas in the hospital after suffering some setbacks in his recovery. We're live at the Houston Hospital with the latest on his condition next. Plus, new details emerging about that Christmas Eve ambush of firefighters, what the gunman's final words were. But today's trivia question, before Bernie Sanders, who is the last self-identified socialist to serve in Congress? Tweet us at Daily Rundown. The first correct answer will get a follow Wednesday from us. The answer more coming up on TDR.